Okay, I'm back. Just had a little thought. And it was talking about the giants that be in our lives. Giants that be in our lives. What is a giant? A giant is something bigger than me. It's gargantuan or something that's large. Like we had a man, I don't know if young people might not know, but his name was Andre the Giant because the guy was like almost 400 pounds and so tall. But a giant can be something physically, like the children of Israel face in the land of milk and honey. God told them to go possess the land, but people went over as spies to see what was in the land, and they ran into these huge men, Nephilim, the byproducts of fallen angels. Some of them taller than cedar trees. And it was said that some, I think it was 3,000 ells, which is over, I don't know if these giants are that tall, but some of them over 450 feet. If you ever seen the movie Clash of the Titans, biggest mountains. But I think these were more like Og and the one that David fought. I can't recall his name. Goliath. I think he was like 14 feet, between 10 and 14 feet. But they were giants physically, imposing, very powerful, hybrid men. But we might not face those types of giants, or we're not facing those types of giants in our lives right now. But a giant can be anything that intimidates us. I thought it was just a little thought for my mind, but God said, hey, in my spirit, that small, still voice, I need vessels to speak, whether people listen or not. I need you to speak. I know you're imperfect. I know you're the last one that should say anything, but I want it spoken, so I'm going to speak it. I have to get it out. I got to be obedient. I'm trying to be obedient. Something I ran from a long time to evangelize. So God want me to speak about giants in our lives. Everybody know what giant it might be in your life that you face. And my biggest foe has been not just Lucifer or Satan, it's myself. Sometimes you can be your biggest opposition by the way you think, the actions that you take, how you treat people. You can be your own giant. But speaking of spiritual forces, a lot of times they use smoke and mirrors and they magnify themselves because we can't see how big God is and what he do. And if you read his word, you understand from your experiences the things you come out of, he brought you out of. Anything that opposes you, if you've truly connected with God, I feel sorry for him. I really do. Because if I'm fully connected to God and people coming against me, yeah, in the short run, I might lose. I might end up with a flat tire, so to speak, spiritually or physically or monetary. But in the end, they're going to lose. That's what God told Saul on the road to Damascus, to kill and persecute his people. He said, why are you kicking against the pricks? I mean, you say, well, Paul wasn't messing with God. But God saying, well, you coming against me, but those were God's people, that's his children. He said, you kicking against the prick. If you ever seen a prick, when people used to farm, people still use these animals look like cows. I can't think of the name of them. but they have two of them yoked together to turn over the earth. And behind those animals, they have like little wooden things with like sharp points on them, so they won't go back. They're like pricks. You have to look it up on Wikipedia. But that's just like me kicking a nail that's poking out of a piece of wood. You kicking against a prick. I'm gonna damage myself. So it's like I got cedar trees in my yard, and they are huge now. They wide at the base. They look like giant Christmas trees. But even though they look real big and imposing, if I really wanted to, I'd take my chainsaw and I cut all of them down. Because this is my yard. These are my trees. I have dominion and authority. It's like those Joshua and Caleb was the only two that went into the promised land, as young people, because they knew their dominion and authority. It's like David, he knew his dominion and authority, even though Goliath called on his God. It's like, who is this little puny man that's coming against the Philistine giant and his God? But Goliath called on his God, but David called on his God. Well, he knew they couldn't lose. And you know the story with the smooth stones and how I hit the giant and knocked him down. David came along, took his own sword, chopped off the head of the giant. So whatever giants in your life, you have dominion and authority. You might can't destroy it today, but you can chip at it. I used to be so confused. I'm like, God, I'm praying about this and that. Now, it took me all these years to get in this mess, but I want God can you just make it disappear? Like I dream a genie? No, it don't work like that. God sometimes do things little by little, even with deliverance. Little by little. And while he doing little by little for you to help you chop down your giant, you're learning in the process. So it's like a father, you teach your kids, any good father, something. You might not be the best father, so they can be self-sufficient. Same with God. When you start out in Christ, it's like you're a baby. God, see, like he do everything for you. It's like everything just, you popping and locking. You know what I'm saying? Everything good. But after a while, he take that infant milk or that breast milk from you, and you start eating real meat, real tests and trials and tribulation. And that helps shapes and mold you and build your faith. You can start off with little faith, but then you have some people with great faith. Even though they might have been beating the slots, but they still standing. So I don't know what giant is in your life, whether it's a relationship or your health or your finances or demonic attacks. Just know God is greater. God said, greater is he that's in you, that's he that's in the world. And in the end times, if you think about it, whenever Satan came around like he did in Job, he had to have permission. He couldn't just attack Job. He had to have permission. Same with us. If he come at us, he had to have permission. And a lot of times we just give the devil a key to come in. We give him the legal right, just like Adam and Eve did. They didn't have no right to come in there and just do what they want to. The devil was able to deceive Eve, twist up God's word. They were already blessed. They had everything. Here come this Negro with his lies and schemes. I don't know if you ever run into a flim-flammer and deceive them out of their blessing. You already blessed. They didn't have to eat. They was like a type of angels. God would come and see them in the cool of the day, speak to them, have normal conversation. But after the fall, a lot of things changed. Even their bodies changed. They were put out of the garden because of a flim-flammer. And he made himself appear to be something that he wasn't. Sometimes the devil can make itself bigger. People can make themselves bigger than what they really is. If you ever ran into a real life Debo, I remember getting bullied in school. Man, you'd be terrified. I got to go back the next day. I remember this one guy, I don't know, some of y'all remember him, named Lewis Carter. And I think he ended up committing suicide. And that's still kind of like bothering me. I don't know what it was. You know, a lot of times people can be class clowns and bullies and have all kind of things going in their mind. I remember another girl, she would get molested by her dad. I always wondered why she acted crazy, Roxanne, in middle school and high school. But could you imagine a little girl getting molested by a dad that was her giant? And I hope she all right. But Lewis committed suicide. But when I would come to school as a ninth grader, I would get bullied by this joker. This joker was like Debo. And to the point where, you know, I had to start fighting back. That's old school. I don't know if y'all kids, a lot of kids, you know, they just wilt, cry, and blow their brains out or do. You got to fight back. I'm sorry. Especially if you connected to God. All through that Bible, he did with warrior, like Nehemiah. He was charged to rebuild the wall. He had a trowel. Well, if you know the trowel to lay bricks in one hand, in the other hand, this joker had a spear. He was a warrior priest. Moses was a warrior priest. He continued to win wars and fight battles. Abraham was a warrior priest. He was called out of his father's house. All these people were warriors. Noah, I'm sure he had to fight a lot of battles as them heckling and mocking him. Adam, he had to become a warrior priest. You know, you had the altar worshiping God, but then you got the enemy over here too. Same thing today. We got giants, real giants. You got real devils. I got real live demons and principality and rules of darkness, according to Ephesians 6, that's coming against me because I want to talk about God. I want to give God the praise. And I'm telling you, it's real. Nobody don't know. I ain't complain. Sometimes it's hard. You don't know if next day you're gonna wake up out of your sleep because of spiritual warfare. But God is greater than anything he made. The witches can use the power of the sun, the moon, the stars, the earth. They can do all kind of things, but God made all these things. Just realize that. So he can reverse anything. He can cancel anything. You got to know his word. David knew his word, and he quoted his word. And David would even dance, and they would make sounds before they went into battle. If you look at the Old Testament, a lot of times they would, in the battle, they would hear the sound of God's people coming, and just the sound alone would melt their hearts in fear, and they would scatter. Or God would send his angels. He even sent hornets one time before the battle and scattered a lot of giants and melt their heart with fear and destroy them or cause them to fight themselves. God is greater than anything. But sometimes even myself, I lose focus because of the storm I'm in. Like, man, poor me. But I hope this helps somebody. Just know God is greater than anything that you're up against, even though you might be down and out. But you ain't got to stay down and out. Love each and every one of you. Have a blessed day.